Joker man dance to the nightingale tune. Birds fly high like the light of the moon. Oh, oh, Joker man. Alrighty, so you can tell the song I was singing is from this album here, and that's the album I'm going to be talking about, Infidels, Bob Dylan. Cool shot of him right there. In fact, I believe it was a gatefold, the album. Or maybe it was on the back of the album where he was in Israel, because, you know, he's part Jewish, I believe. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about Infidels. I've been waiting so long to actually do this, for a while, actually. And I think this is my favorite. I think it comes pretty close to either this or Oh Mercy, that comes at the end of the decade in the 80s. So yeah, Dylan was really, he was kind of out of it with the whole, this whole religious thing he had going. But he didn't really step back. He was still having all that imagery of a lot of religious things, and of course with Jesus. I mean, with this first song, Joker Man. The album was released October of '83. This was actually, at the time, I mean, of course with his previous release, Shot of Love, this was unfortunately his decline of, with his albums charting, you know, having success. This was actually, in Norway, this was actually the #1 album in Norway. And I believe it also charted somewhere in the top 20 or top 10 in the UK or whatever. This album too really kind of definitely has now definitely the beginnings of Dylan using a lot of that, especially with the use of definitely a lot of the syndromes and definitely a lot of the you know, the really overproduced, very I don't know what you call it, very artificial sounding. He was definitely incorporating that, definitely for sure, starting with this album. It sounds 1983. Definitely sounds a little bit like what's to come a little bit later in the 80s. But of course, this wasn't the worst yet. That was going to be coming for Dylan, especially with his next album, which I'm definitely not looking forward to talking about, hopefully. Yeah, you got people like, I mean, obviously this was produced by Bob Dylan, but not only Dylan, but Mark Knopfler and, you know, the other guy from Dire Straits. I forget his name. Sly and Robbie are here, kind of giving a little bit of that reggae feel a little bit in some of this album to some extent. We also have Mick Taylor on here, which is a little bit unusual. It definitely has his presence is a little out of place a little bit, but he definitely rocks pretty well. I mean, definitely some of the harder rocking songs on this album. But yeah, I feel like Dylan here is kind of explaining himself here about the weariness of the world, kind of, if you will, and the fragility of faith, basically, you know. And Infidels is kind of like, you know, kind of like being torn apart, or being kind of I don't know, it's just, Infidels kind of means, you know, kind of like losing, or kind of stripping away of some, rather a bit, you know, stripping away of, I don't know, whatever kind of faith, you know, like a religious faith or anything, political or whatever it may be, or whatever the case may be, or whatever, you know. So it definitely has a lot of that, you know, kind of losing trust in, you know, society, and hell, even relationships or friendships, or whatever kind of scenario you're in. So let's go ahead and talk about the album. So the album opens up with the song I was just singing before, Joker Man. Definitely these lyrics definitely go very well beyond what Dylan kind of does. Like, you definitely can see you can definitely tell he's back to being more stronger in his poetic sense, and definitely a little bit more stronger on his and what he can really do. So yeah, really, and of course the opening to Joker Man. Obviously, it sounds just like what it is. Sounds like '83, right? This did chart, but it charted very poorly. I believe it charted somewhere in the top 50 or whatever in early 1984. There was a music video for this, where Dylan kind of looks a little bored. I believe Knopfler was in the video, Sly and Robbie. I believe Sly and Robbie were in the Sweetheart Like You video. But yeah, obviously the video is cornball and all. But the song is absolutely... I think if you really don't... If you kind of erase all like the... Because I know it sounds a little too of the time or whatever. Just by reading the lyrics alone and just how well it's written, then it all doesn't really matter, I guess, and you can boom, 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 with the drums or whatever. Standing on the waters, casting your bread, while the eyes of the idol with the iron head are glowing. Now, a lot of people have interpreted this song a lot. Some say it could be a false god, or maybe perhaps Dylan, or perhaps anybody, really, like I said, in these commentary videos, I don't really go too much in depth here. I just kind of tell just a little short. I only go to a little extent, I only give you a small portion. I believe this line is, at the end of each verse or whatever, where he goes, Joker Man dance the nightingale tune, bird fly high by the light of the moon. I believe that's referring to something, the moon. I guess it symbolizes, or it kind of tells that something's not going to be quite right here. It's going to be something, something a little bit suspicious, kind of, if you will, And, definitely a lot of allusions and imagery of course, Jesus or whatever, or some sort of false somebody, And this last, and I love this last stanza. It's a shadowy world, skies are slippery gray. A woman just gave birth to a prince today and dressed him in scarlet. Oh, a woman just gave birth to a... I already read that, okay. He'll put the priest in his pocket, but put the blade to the heart. Take the motherless children off the street and place them at the feet of a harlot. Oh, Joker Man, you know what he wants. Oh, Joker Man, you don't show any response. And it could kind of show, that maybe Jesus was a little, I don't really want to take it too, to not put anybody down or anything, but, maybe he's kind of saying, Jesus was kind of not really speaking to his word, maybe, I don't know. I mean, it could, the interpretation of this song could be endless. I mean, it could be whatever it is. But for most people, they say it's about a false figure, false god, or whatever it is. And I can kind of agree to that extent, but, it could be anything else, But anyways, yeah, Joker Man, I really like it. It's not one of my favorite Dylan songs, but it is still pretty good. It's still very, definitely by the lyrics, very, very solid. And then after that, we get Sweetheart Like You. Now, this is a song I feel like most people have claimed that Dylan went a little bit too far, maybe a little bit misogynistic, a little bit. Not really. I definitely, if you just don't, I don't know, if you go over that and, kind of see it in a different, more religious, and more of a religious kind of content or whatever, it's probably about, the devil, Satan or whatever, kind of manipulating the, the religious people in the church and all, Also, where he refers to this line here, they say it's in your own father's house. There's many mansions. Each of them got a fireproof floor. That may be referring hell, maybe, or heaven, somewhat. Yeah. And of course, this first stanza is definitely a classic here. As you can go along. Well, the pressure's down. The boss ain't here. He gone north and he ain't around. They say that vanity got the best of him, but he sure left there. He sure left here after sundown. By the way, that's a cute hat, and that smile's so hard to resist. But what's a sweetheart like you doing in a dump like this? So maybe he's referring, maybe he's talking about Jesus. He leaves, and now Satan can kind of put his little, now he can put out his evil deed, or kind of, if you will, his bag of tricks to these, religious, faithful, wholesome, and kind of, play around with them a bit, Yeah, this song, I really do love the production on here. Now, obviously, the drums and all, most of the drums on here, it's pretty 83, right, But I definitely love the playing here by Mark Knopfler. It has a little bit like a John Mayer. I feel like maybe John Mayer was kind of, had an inspiration, had a little bit touch of inspiration there by Mark Knopfler a little bit in his playing. But I love the harmonica tunes that comes at the end or whatever. And I really just love like that instrumental break right at the end. It is a beautiful song, Sweetheart Like You. Then we get Neighborhood Bully. This is definitely a very straight-on rocking, definitely a rocking tune. I definitely like and a good example of Mick Taylor's showing here of his way he plays guitar, and you can definitely tell with a lot of the Stones albums in the 70s, but you can definitely tell that's him shredding away, Neighborhood Bully, I believe a lot of people have said that this is about the Israelis, I believe, how they really were treated in somewhat in a way, But look what they have accomplished. Look what they accomplished over many, many years, or many, many decades, I should say. I feel like they always come out victorious. And you can definitely see how much progress they really, with the Jews and all the Jewish counterculture. Like the neighborhood bully just lives to survive. He's criticized and condemned to being alive. He's not supposed to fight back. He's supposed to have thick skin. He's supposed to lay down and die when his door's kicked in. He's the neighborhood bully. So he's talking about the people that are kind of anti, kind of putting down the Israelis a bit. I think in 81, I believe, sometime in 80 or 81, there was some sort of bombing over in Israel, I believe. But yeah. What has he done to wear so many scars? Does he change the course of rivers? Does he pollute the moon and stars? That's a fantastic line. I like that. Neighborhood bully standing on the hill, running out the clock, time standing still. Very good song. I do gotta say, the only nitpick of the song is a little bit long, and it feels like I feel like sometimes Dylan, with Rosemary and all, they can kind of get a little bit too repetitive, and that's why I feel a little bit on this song. But I definitely, if I kind of forget that and kind of just focus on the instrumentation, like the guitars and stuff, especially with Mick Taylor and Mark Knopfler and Dylan. It's just really a really solid song. I definitely do love this song. Okay, and then after that we get License to Kill. This song has a little bit like a Sweetheart Like You, somewhat, maybe even a Joker Man. It says here, man thinks he caused Man thinks cause he rules the earth, he can do with it. He can do with it as he please. And if things don't change soon, he will. Oh man, he has invented his doom. First step was touching the moon. I believe this song is about, kind of losing your pride somewhat. And I feel like that's definitely kind of, I feel like maybe this song, in a way, has a little bit of the theme of what Infidels is all about. And actually, I don't know if I got to tell you, or maybe I didn't. I believe this album was supposed to originally be called Survival of Man or something like that, But I believe Dylan didn't want to have another album starting with the letter S or whatever. So, yeah, but I believe License to Kill, kind of, if you can shorten it in a way, it's probably mostly on, basically losing, like losing, I guess, losing for what you have, in a sense. I mean, I don't know if I can, better way I can say it, but, something like that, just losing your pride, basically, And then after that, we get Man of Peace. This song is pretty good. There's a little bit too much of that 80-ness on this song. It's a little bit of a rocker, somewhat. Definitely like the nice noodling work by Knopfler and the guys from the Dire Straits that are on here. I like this verse here. Well, first he's in the background, then he's in the front. Both eyes are looking like they're on a rabbit hunt. Nobody can see through him. No, not even the chief of police. You know that sometimes Satan comes the man of peace. It's pretty simple, song or whatever, Satan can be disguised in any kind of form, That's what he's saying. But yeah, pretty good song. And then we get Union Sundown. This is a bit of a cool rocker. I believe Clyde King sings background vocals on this. Many people have kind of really despised this song because it's putting down the union workers and all. But I think it is a pretty... It definitely describes, kind of the time a little bit in the early 80s. There was a period there of people losing their jobs and losing simple labor, somewhat, well, my shoes, they come from Singapore, my flashlights from Taiwan, my tablecloths from Malaysia, my belt buckles from the Amazon. This shirt I wear comes from the Philippines. I really love his echoing. There's a little bit of an echo in Dylan's voice a little bit in this. And the car I drive is a Chevrolet. It was put together down in Argentina. In Argentina. The way he says it. By a guy making 30 cents a day. Well, it's sundown on the Union, and what's made in the USA sure was a good idea till greed got in the way. So it was kind of like saying, big businesses are squashing, all these, basically all these, basically people losing their jobs so easily, from I guess businesses, greedy businessmen. Democracy don't rule the world. You better get that in your head. This world is ruled by violence, but I guess that's better left unsaid. Wow. I love that. From Broadway to the Milky Way, there's a lot of territory indeed, and a man's going to do what he has to do when he's got a hungry mouth to feed. Well, it's sundown on the Union, and what's made in the USA sure was a good idea till greed got in the way. Wow, that perfectly sums up just that in a nutshell, And I guess that could, be the same, I guess, as of now, And then after that, we get I and I. This is a very nice swaying song, It kind of leads into the last song on the album. And I really like this. You know, it really just shows who you are in general, and what kind of your inner. You talk about your inner self and how you feel, and you know, just a nice positive song. You know, I mean, I know this album can kind of have a little bit of that, you know, but losing faith and all. But this one definitely has a very strong, positive note. Like I and I in creation, where one's nature neither honors nor forgives, and I, one says to the other, no man sees my face and lives. The end of the verse there. And then the last song is Don't Fall Apart on Me Tonight. This is a nice, pretty nice ballad, Get some nice lines here. Very nice percussive work here. A little bit of that 80s keys and all, Don't fall apart on me tonight. I just don't think that I could handle it. Don't fall apart on me tonight. Yesterday's just a memory. Tomorrow's never what it's supposed to be. And I need you, oh yeah. So there you have it, folks. Infidels. I think this album is really, really well. I think the instrumentation just sounds like 83. Definitely has that sound. There were, however, some outtakes that weren't used on the album. I believe Foot of Pride was on there, and Lord Protect My Child, and I think a song that was retitled differently over in Empire Burlesque. And sadly, that's going to be the album I'm going to be talking about next. I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I think a lot of people seem to just really hate that album because it's just the production and the way it was produced was just not, just was not good. Like I've heard they said, well, hell, Knopfler could have produced the album, but I think there was some, I think he got held back or something. He just didn't want to do it. But yeah, Infidels, basically the loss of all different kind of intuitions and, whether it be religious or better yet, a relationship or something within you. And yeah, Infidels, really good album. Definitely got to say between that and Oh Mercy are probably my favorite Dylan albums of that time. So yeah, Empire Burlesque, looking forward to that album, I guess. But anyways, folks, take care. Bye-bye.